Yes, what is up everyone? How are you doing? You doing well? I'm breathing, so all is good. And actually, it's doubly good because all of you helped me get to 5,000 likes last video, and that is what's up. Someone in my inner circle didn't think it was possible for that to happen. I told them that you would have my back, that I could count on you after I asked for your support. So thank you. It means more than you know, so keep those likes coming. Also, I want to give a shout out to Kevin Oblaki for sending a special gift to my P.O. box, the jersey of my favorite team in the A-League, the Brisbane Roar! And it has my name on it too. So thank you, big man. Also, Kevin has a YouTube channel that Mike K and I have been on before. So if you want to check out that video that we did with him and his channel overall, the link will be down below. And now let's get to the goods. It's the weekend and rewind. And where should we start? How about here? Good weekend, Gareth Bale. Because Cristiano Ronaldo, who? The Welsh winger has scored in 6 consecutive games for Real Madrid, including a goal and an assist in their 4-1 come-from-behind win this weekend over Girona, which puts him on top of the La Liga table after 2 games. So we'll see if he and Karim Benzema and penalty kick specialist Sergio Ramos can keep it up for another 36 games. Bad weekend, KSI. And it was only bad for him because I thought he should have won his fight against Logan Paul instead of the majority draw that it ended up being. So I don't know if you saw it or not, but I had him winning the last 4 of the 6 rounds because the guy is nails up here. He is so mentally strong and driven. He outsmarted and ultimately outwilled Logan. The guy just wanted it more is what I'm trying to say, and it showed. And I think he'll show it again when they do the rematch in LA next year, which I'm 100% going to, by the way. Stamp it. Good weekend, bad weekend. Both clubs from Milan. And we're gonna go with the bad first, since both clubs gave up 2-goal leads. AC Milan was shocking the world by going 2-up over Napoli in Naples, and Inter was up 2 at home to Torino, so it should have been shut down shop, lock it up, game over at that point. I'll take an order of Catenaccio, please, so we can get this win. But instead, Milan gave up 3 unanswered goals because, among other reasons, they were trying to play out of the back with a goalkeeper in particular that can't play out of the back, and because Carlo Ancelotti scrapped his tactics after going down 2 goals and put Napoli back into what looked more like what Maurizio Sarri did, something they were more comfortable with. And guess what? Voila! 3 goals, and it became another comeback victory over another tough opponent to keep their undefeated start to the season intact. As for Inter, well, their 2-goal lead evaporated after some very questionable goalkeeping from their starter Samir Handanovic, who should have done better on both. And I don't care if the second one was slightly deflected. I expect someone of his quality to make that save. So Inter, the team that I predicted to get second in my league preview, and SMH to that prediction at the moment, well, they dropped 2 goals and 2 points to be in 12th place, already 5 points off the top. The good? At least their biggest rivals, the other Milan club, things up this weekend too. And honestly, that's the only silver lining I can find. Bad weekend, Rafa Benitez. Because not only did the Newcastle manager not want Alexander Mitrovic up top for the tune anymore, so we let him go to Fulham, where he's only scored 3 goals in 3 games this season, including a brace in Fulham's big 4-2 win this weekend, which is already 2 more goals than Mitrovic scored for Newcastle all of last season. And yes, I know he only played in 6 games, but still. I was pissed off at Rafa's tactics against Chelsea while we were playing at home this weekend, because he put us in a 5-4-1 formation, which you know is where you sit back and hope that you maybe score on a counter or a set piece. And guess what happened? We probably played with purpose going forward for 5 minutes of that 90-minute game, which thankfully we scored during that time, but that was only because we were down a goal at that point and we had no other choice than to commit more numbers in the attack. But listen to these stats. Chelsea had 81% of the possession, and Jorginho, one player, had more completed passes, 158, than the whole Newcastle team put together, who had 131. And then Benitez had the audacity to say after the game that possession stats don't matter. It's only for TV and the pundits. And no way. That. I love Rafa, and I think he's getting the rawest of deals managing a club that's run by that cheap bastard Mike Ashley. But this is some bullshit of the highest order. For any of you that support a team that sits back at home, no less, I'm sorry if what I'm about to say hurts your feelings. I don't think it will, but if it does, I'm sorry. But I would rather support a team that tries to play and goes for it and then lose than play like Newcastle did this weekend, where they let the visiting team come into their home stadium and dictate every single facet of the game while we react and hope. Yeah, as in, I hope that Chelsea makes a mistake, or I hope that we earn a set piece and score, or I hope someone scores a wonder goal, we can get out of this game with a lucky 1-0 win. And no, that. And in this particular instance, hope. Let's put a team out there that knows and believes that they can win and actually plays on the front foot to try and make that happen instead of a team that hopes they can win. Do you understand the distinction I'm trying to make? Because even without any verbal instruction, when Rafa tells his men to set up in a 5-4-1, that tactical move alone is telling the team that he doesn't believe in them and that he doesn't believe they're good enough to go toe-to-toe with the big clubs. So instead, we sit back and we react to what the opponent is doing, never anticipating, and hope. And guess what? We still lost. We have nothing to show for these conservative tactics, and in some ways I'm happy about it because we don't get rewarded for something so negative. So ultimately though, it's a waste of an opportunity to show what the players and club were potentially capable of because our manager was afraid of getting beat. Well, we got beat, Rafa, and now we have no idea what this team can do because we didn't learn anything about them. They sat back the whole game. And rant over. Good weekend, VAR, because it had to have made history this weekend in the Wolfsburg-Schalke game, which Wolfsburg ended up winning 2-1, and a hat tip to American international center back John Anthony Brooks for scoring the first goal. Way to go. But here's what went down. Schalke defender Matija Nasic went studs up on Wolfsburg's Dutch striker Wout Weghorst and got a yellow in real time, but VAR jumped in, the ref looked at it, and gave him a straight red instead. And then Weghorst barged into Schalke's Guido Bergstaller, which is a great name by the way, after a tangle in the box and got a straight red, which seemed like the right call when you see it, but then VAR interfered and the ref looked at it and then only deemed it a yellow, so he changed it from a red to a yellow. So with this continued man advantage for the next 20 minutes, Wolfsburg wore Schalke down and scored in the 94th minute to win it. So I hope VAR got his jersey signed by the Wolfsburg players after the game like a proper fanboy, because he definitely is after handing them the 3 points. Bad weekend, Manchester City. After starting last season with 18 wins in a row and not dropping points until New Year's Eve, Pep Guardiola's men dropped 2 in the third game of this season after their 1-1 draw with Wolverhampton, who became only the third team since the beginning of last season to reach double figures in shot attempts in a league game against City, which I think says something more, and in a positive way, for Wolves than it does in a negative way for City, who probably should have won the game given the chances they had, but still. With my belief that things are going to be tight at the top between them and Liverpool and maybe even Chelsea at this point, and hell, I'll even throw Watford in there for fun since they're off to a great start, dropping points in games you should win is never a good thing. Also, Newcastle, take notes. This is how a team with less quality, like Wolves, goes at a big club like City, with belief. They looked like they thought they could win, so they played like they thought they could win, and they almost did. Good weekend, bad weekend, Cristiano Ronaldo. The good? He got an assist for scuffing a shot that landed at Mario Mandzukic's feet, who buried it to notch Juventus' final goal in their 2-0 win over Lazio, Ronaldo's first home game for his new club. The bad? I know it's going to take a while for CR7 to gel with his new teammates, but the flow doesn't seem right just yet. So even though I like Juve manager Maxi Allegri's switch from a 4-2-3-1 formation in the first game of the season to a 4-3-3 to tighten things up in midfield in this one, which gave them a little more balance than the previous game, even though it left Paulo Dybala and Douglas Costa on the bench. And could you imagine supporting a team that had that type of quality on the bench? Doesn't seem fair. Well, it helped Juve right the ship against an opponent in Lazio, who they lost to twice last season. However, I think it does limit CR7's impact for now, because we all know he's going to blow up at some point, because that's what he does. Good weekend, Marco Reus. The Borussia Dortmund captain scored the 4th goal of the game for his club, and it was the 100th in his Bundesliga career to cap off a great response of going down 1-0 early at home to RB Leipzig in Dortmund's huge 4-1 win, which I thought showed the resilience that maybe this team was lacking last season once things got tough, which led to Thomas Tuchel getting fired, if you guys remember that. Also, most importantly, they got the full 3 points, which feels mandatory every single weekend in the Bundesliga if you want to legitimately compete for the title. So it's nice to see that they didn't bottle it in week 1, especially since Bayern Munich did what Bayern Munich does, and that's win with their 3-1 result over Hoffenheim at the Allianz Arena. Bad weekend, Patrick Vieira. After leaving his post as manager of NYCFC and MLS, the French legend took over for Lucien Favre at Nice, who finished at 8th last season, 1 point out of qualifying for the Europa League. So Vieira had a somewhat decent core of players to work with when he took over, and he lost his first match at home to Amiens 1-0. Then they had to score late to draw 1-1 on the road with Con, or as I like to call them, the Conradinos. And then this past weekend, they gave up 4 goals in the last 23 minutes to Dijon to lose 4-0 at home, which, sweet baby Jesus, what happens when Nice starts playing the real teams in Liga? And I say this with all due respect to Dijon, who are undefeated after 3 games and are currently tied on top of the table with PSG, but I'm not sure this is going to end well for Patrick Vieira, but hopefully they give him at least until January to get it sorted out. Good weekend, the Arsenal, who found a way to finally win their first league game under new manager Unai Emery, who finally listened to one thing that I said, and that was leaving Mesut Ozil out of the lineup due to apparently sickness. But whatever, I believe Mesut needs some serious rest and a mental break from the grind. So whatever the reason, it was the right move and the team played much better. Or shall I say, they were much better when Alexander Lacazette came on the field to start the second half, because that's exactly when they started to pull away from West Ham to win 3-1. Which means if Lacazette doesn't start next week in the number 9 spot with Aubameyang dropping a little bit deeper to play off of his shoulder, then I'm officially Emery out, because it is so obvious that that's what has to happen. Also, it's so obvious that West Ham could be looking for another new manager soon. So I wonder if Big Sam is available. Bad weekend, Porto. After going up 2-0 at home and looking like they were in complete control, Vitória de Guimarães, try my best here, scored 3 goals in the second half, but then in injury time, Porto had about 5 amazing looks at goal to tie it up, but either Vitória's goalkeeper Douglas made an incredible save or 2, or the ball hit the post, or they skied the open looks over the bar, and it was just a ridiculous finish to a great match that now sees Porto lose a league game at home for the first time since the 2015-2016 season. However, and lucky for Porto, who are the defending league champions in case you forgot, their biggest rivals Benfica and Sporting Clube de Portugal drew 1-1 in their big Lisboa derby this weekend after Benfica's highly coveted youngster, 18-year-old João Felix, scored his first goal for Benfica's first team in the 86th minute, 15 minutes after he came on as a sub in his first big derby, and that is pretty f***ing cool for him. And for Porto, who only dropped 1 point to the other 2 big clubs instead of 3 to one of them. Good weekend, Ousmane Dembele. A year after he became the most expensive transfer in Barcelona's history, which must have been an incredible amount of pressure in itself for the then teenager, he was also expected to come in and replace Neymar, which is a whole other set of immense pressure, which I believe led to him suffering both physically and mentally, which led to him struggling to find his place within the team and being injured a lot, especially for a young guy. However, he took the momentum and confidence from winning the World Cup this past summer to start this season with aplomb, scoring another game winner this weekend in Barca's 1-0 win on the road versus Real Valladolid to keep Barca on pace at the top with Real Madrid. Also, as your weekly reminder, I love seeing any player fight through adversity to have success, but especially a younger one who has so much potential. So I think this bodes well for his future, because he could have taken the easy way out and gone to another smaller club with less pressure, but he stayed at Barcelona and he fought it out, and I have nothing but respect for that. Bad weekend, Richarlison. Before this weekend, I think the Brazilian and Everton's record signing would have been the favorite as the best transfer in the Premier League in the early part of the season, but with his needless red card for headbutting a Bournemouth defender, it proves he has some legitimate maturing left to do as he learns to keep his emotions in check. Thankfully, though, it didn't cost Everton all 3 points, though they did blow a 2-0 lead to draw 2-2, but that is more on his teammates than on him. Also, his suspension is not going to help Everton moving forward, since he's going to miss the next 3 games as well, which are Huddersfield and West Ham at home and Arsenal away, which sucks because with him and the team, I think they get 7 points out of those 3 games, but without him, it's looking more like 4. What also sucks for the Toffees is that the team they share a city with, also known as Liverpool Football Club that wears red, can't stop winning with their 1-0 win over Brighton this weekend, but Liverpool beating teams that they should always beat, which isn't always easy to do and something they've struggled with in the past. Or Mohamed Salah scoring yet another game winner isn't what is the most impressive thing to me about the Reds right now. It's their defensive prowess since they lost to Tottenham 4-1 in October of last season at Wembley. Because ever since that game, they've only given up 22 goals in 32 league games, and they signed players to make them even better defensively like Virgil van Dijk, Naby Keita, and the beast Alisson in goal to become the only team in England's top flight to not give up a goal this season. And with this 1-0 win, it's their 7th consecutive league shutout at Anfield, proving that this is another sign that this team is a title contender for sure. Good weekend, PSG. Because all systems go for the French Giants as their star players Neymar, Kylian Mbappe, and Edinson Cavani all scored in their 3-1 win over Angers, which was Cavani's first goal of the season, and we know how he gets going when he scores and feels confident. And it puts Neymar and Mbappe on top of the league scoring charts with 3 goals. And actually, I wonder what happens if they start battling each other for the Golden Boot, especially because they probably have some sweet bonuses attached to their contracts if they do win it. Now, I get the sense that Mbappe doesn't seem to care about this type of stuff, so I assume he'll defer to Neymar, who I think does care about it a little bit more. Anyway, if these three players keep this up in their form, which I expect, PSG are going to cruise this season. They're so much better than everyone else. Also, this is my Captain Obvious statement of the week. Bad weekend, Atletico Madrid. Because they only beat Rayo Vallecano 1-0 at home on a goal by Antoine Griezmann and by some terrific goalkeeping by Jan Oblak. And frankly, given the talent that is on their team this season, Atleti need to stop with this squeaking out 1-0 wins crap. They're better than that, especially against teams that are inferior to them like Vallecano. So it's just unacceptable in my mind that they play to the level of their competition. Pick up your game, fellas. Good weekend, Takefusa Kubo and Hendrik Wijndant. First up, it's the 17-year-old Kubo who was once called the Japanese Messi when he was in Barcelona's academy, and he scored his first J-League goal against Andres Iniesta's Vissel Kobe, and it was a high-quality goal, so I'll make sure I keep an eye on him for you, and we'll call it Kubo Watch 2018. And next it's Wijndant, who, as a frame of reference, scored 15 goals in the 4th division just last season in Germany, but 77 seconds into his Bundesliga debut for Hanover, and yes, he skipped 2 divisions to go right to the top flight. He scored in their 1-1 draw on the road versus Werder Bremen, so you see everyone, dreams do come true. You just got to keep grinding for it. Bad weekend. Roy Lassiter, Chris Wondolowski, and Bradley Wright Phillips. Because all three of those gentlemen who had all tied for the most goals in a single MLS season with 27 now have to share being sloppy seconds after Atlanta United's Joseph Martinez scored his 28th goal of the season in 26 games in Atlanta's big 2-1 win on the road in Orlando, which gives him 47 goals in his 46 total appearances for the club, which is an incredible scoring rate if you guys are doing the math at home. And the best part, the Venezuelan international still has 8 more games left to go this season, which means he might set a record that might not ever be broken. And speaking of MLS, it was rivalry week this past week, so let's toss it over to my correspondent who's feeling a little, how do you say it?
Outraged! Because I paid top $50 to watch some teams get their asses handed to them by their rivals. Instead I got NYCFC and the Red Bulls tying 1-1. And the Chicago Dumpster Fire and the Austin Crew tying 1-1. Then the Houston Not So Dynamo and Soccer Club Dallas tying 1-1. And the LA Galaxy and LAFC tying 1-1. So thanks for nothing, you 8 teams. I need and want and thirst for big games that have results like Real Salt Lake going into Denver and putting 6 past Tim Howard and his Colorado Rapids in RSL's 6-0 win. Daddy like, or Sebastian Jovinko, looking like first year in the league Jovinko when he was unstoppable with his 2 classy goals in Toronto FC's big 3-1 win over Montreal. But I still don't get why he doesn't get called up by Italy. The dude can ball it up.
Okay, I got it from here because you need to relax, thanks. Or my 2 former clubs, Sporting Kansas City and the San Jose Earthquakes, both having 2-0 leads, but sadly, only one of them went on to actually win 2-0. The other lost 3-2. So let's start here and say congrats to Sporting Kansas City's Bobby Shuttleworth. I mean, Minnesota United's goalkeeper Bobby Shuttleworth, who was easily Sporting Kansas City's best player on the night, while the Quakes are looking to repeat what I did back in 2000 with the Quakes. That was a really long time ago, which is when we were the last place team in the league, and then we won MLS Cup the following year, right? I think that's what they're trying to do, so I like it, Quakes. Get last this year, win everything next year. You got everyone right where you want them. Love it. But before we move on to the next item, I want to give a shout out to both teams that are currently in 5th place in each conference in MLS. In the East, the Philadelphia Union, who with their 1-0 win over the New England Revolution, have now won 3 straight games. And in the West, it's the Seattle Sounders, who after beating their hated rivals, the Portland Timbers, in Portland 1-0, they have now won 7 straight games, which easily makes them the hottest team in the league. Good weekend, Club America. After going down 1-0 in the first 17 seconds at home in the famous Estadio Azteca in the Clásico Capitalino between them and Pumas, and after going down 2 men with 2 red cards, they have to feel ecstatic that they salvaged a 2-2 draw with a goal by Henry Martin in the 92nd minute to secure at least a point and remain in 5th place, 6 points off the top. Also, Pumas, how do you let a guy get a free header in injury time and you're up 2 players on the field? How is that possible? I don't know. So you're getting a no mami's way. Gooder weekend, Chivas Guadalajara, who won the Clásico Tapatio, which is the oldest Clásico in Mexico on the road no less, 1-0 over Atlas, which puts them 1 point behind their biggest rivals, Club America, with 10 games left in this Clausura season before the playoffs start, so si se puede, amigos. Goodest weekend, my 3 winners who predicted the right score for Napoli versus AC Milan. And they are... Also, I know more than 3 people got it right, okay? But I can only select 3, so I apologize if you got it right and you didn't win, but don't stop trying. Okay, I didn't win either. That makes you feel any better. And the winners are Kukamaya, Ziki Boys, And you're gonna think this next one is fixed or that it's my mom, but it's not. It's Jimmy Conrad's fan club, who was the third winner after being selected randomly from all of the correct predictors, which is crazy. Anyway, I reached out to the winners and hopefully you'll be one soon. So try again this week when previews and predictions drops on Thursday. And all right, that is it. That is all I got. So thank you for watching and for hitting like and subscribe. And if you're into podcasts, come find me on the Sam's Army podcast on Barstool Sports, or it's working with Barstool, and it's on every audio platform. I'm dropping fire every Tuesday and Friday, so it's a pretty good listen, but I'm pretty biased. But I should be biased. I'm supporting what I want. You guys should just listen. Okay, I'm done. Later.